Shattering Silence, the unexpected power of confronting domestic violence. Welcome to this special episode of the BlackCEO Podcast. Today we have the extraordinary privilege of sharing insights from our recent interview with Young Starr, a true beacon of hope and catalyst for change in the fight against domestic violence. Young Starr's journey from survivor to advocate has not only transformed countless lives, but has also redefined how we approach one of society's most pervasive and damaging issues. Their work has sparked a movement, challenging us all to rethink our role in creating a world free from violence. Imagine for a moment a world where the most dangerous place for a person isn't a dark alley or a war-torn country, but their own home. A world where love and fear are so tightly intertwined that they become indistinguishable. For millions of people, this isn't imagination, it's reality. Now, I know what you're thinking. Another talk about domestic violence. Haven't we heard this all before? Well, buckle up, because what I'm about to share with you isn't just another sob story or a list of depressing statistics. This is a tale of transformation, a roadmap for change, and quite possibly the most important conversation you'll have all year. Let's start with a number that should make your hair stand on end. Every minute, 20 people in the United States experience intimate partner violence. That's right. In the time it takes you to tie your shoelaces, grab a coffee, or check your Instagram, 4 or 5 people have been subjected to abuse. But here's the kicker. These aren't just numbers. These are our neighbors, our co-workers, our friends, and sometimes even ourselves. Young Starr knows this reality all too well. Growing up, their home wasn't a sanctuary. It was a battleground. Imagine being a child, lying awake at night, not excited about Santa Claus or birthday presents, but listening intently, trying to gauge if tonight would be a night of peace or a night of terror. This was Young Starr's reality, and it's a reality for millions of children around the world right now. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Young Starr didn't just survive this environment, they learned from it. They observed, they analyzed, and most importantly, they began to understand the complex dynamics at play. This understanding became the foundation for a life dedicated to breaking the cycle of violence and empowering others to do the same. Now, I can almost hear some of you thinking, that's great for Young Starr, but what does this have to do with me? I'm not experiencing domestic violence, and I don't know anyone who is. Oh, my friend, if only that were true. The reality is, domestic violence is like air pollution. You might not always see it, but it's affecting all of us all the time. Let's break this down. Domestic violence isn't just about physical abuse. It's about power, control, and the systematic breakdown of an individual's sense of self-worth. It's about creating an environment of fear and uncertainty that can have lasting impacts on mental health, economic stability, and even physical well-being long after the abuse has ended. Young Starr shared a powerful insight during our interview. They said, domestic violence doesn't just hurt the victim, it hurts entire communities. It creates a cycle of trauma that can span generations if we don't intervene. Think about that for a moment. The child who grows up in a violent home might struggle in school, affecting their future economic prospects. They might have difficulty forming healthy relationships, impacting their ability to build a supportive community. They might turn to substance abuse to cope, leading to health issues and potential legal troubles. One instance of violence creates a ripple effect that touches countless lives. But here's where it gets interesting and where hope enters the picture. Young Starr didn't just recognize this cycle, they decided to break it. And in doing so, they discovered something profound. The very experiences that could have broken them became the source of their greatest strength. Young Starr learned empathy from experiencing its absence. They learned the importance of communication by living in silence. They learned the power of community by feeling isolated. In short, they took the darkest parts of their experience and transformed them into light, not just for themselves, but for others. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's all well and good, but surely it can't be that simple. And you're right, it's not simple. It's messy, it's complicated, and it's often downright terrifying. But here's the thing, it's also absolutely necessary. Let me share a story that Young Starr told us, one that illustrates just how powerful breaking the silence can be. There was a woman, let's call her Sarah, who had been in an abusive relationship for years. She was isolated, afraid, and convinced that she was alone in her struggle. One day, she overheard a conversation at her local grocery store. Two women We're discussing a domestic violence awareness event that Young Starr was organizing. Sarah, driven by a mix of desperation and hope, decided to attend. As she listened to Young Starr speak, as she heard the stories of other survivors, something inside her shifted. For the first time in years, she felt seen, she felt understood, and most importantly, she felt that change was possible. That day, Sarah took the first step towards reclaiming her life. It wasn't easy. Leaving an abusive relationship never is. But with the support of the community she found through Young Star's organization, she did it. Today, Sarah is not only free from abuse, but she's also become an advocate herself, helping other women find their way to safety and healing. This story illustrates a crucial point. Domestic violence thrives in silence. It feeds on shame, isolation, and the belief that it's just a family matter. But when we start talking about it, really talking about it, we strip away its power. We bring it into the light where it can be examined, understood, and ultimately addressed. Young Star's work has shown that education is a powerful tool in this fight. By teaching people to recognize the signs of domestic violence, by helping them understand the complex dynamics at play, we can create a society that's better equipped to prevent abuse before it starts and to support survivors when it does occur. But education isn't just about recognizing abuse. It's about understanding healthy relationships, effective communication, and emotional intelligence. It's about teaching our children, regardless of gender, that strength doesn't come from domination, but from mutual respect and understanding. Young Starr emphasized this point repeatedly in our interview. They said, we need to redefine what strength looks like in our society. True strength isn't about control or power over others. It's about having the courage to be vulnerable, to communicate openly, and to build others up instead of tearing them down. Now, I can see some of you shifting uncomfortably in your seats. Vulnerability. In today's world, are you crazy? I get it. We live in a society that often equates vulnerability with weakness. But let me ask you this. What takes more courage? Putting up walls and pushing people away, or opening yourself up and allowing others to see your true self? This redefinition of strength is crucial, not just in the context of domestic violence, but in how we approach all our relationships, personal, professional, and societal. Imagine a world where vulnerability is seen as a strength, not a weakness, where asking for help is encouraged, not stigmatized, where conflicts are resolved through communication and understanding, not through force or intimidation. This isn't just a utopian dream. It's a practical necessity if we want to create a society free from the scourge of domestic violence. And the beautiful thing is, as we work towards this goal, we create positive change in all areas of our lives. Young Starr shared another story that perfectly illustrates this point. They worked with a group of high school students, teaching them about healthy relationships and communication. One of the students, a young man we'll call Mike, initially scoffed at the idea. He came from a tough background and believed that showing emotion or talking about feelings was a sign of weakness. But as the program progressed, something remarkable happened. Mike started to open up. He shared stories about his own family, about the violence he had witnessed and experienced. And as he did, he found that his classmates didn't judge him or think less of him. Instead, they supported him. They shared their own stories. Bonds were formed, understanding grew, and slowly but surely, Mike's perspective began to change. By the end of the program, Mike had become one of its most vocal advocates. He started a peer support group at his school, encouraging other young men to talk about their emotions and experiences. The impact was profound. Not only did incidents of bullying and fighting decrease, but the overall atmosphere of the school improved. Students reported feeling safer, more connected, and more supported. This story shows us that change is possible, even in the most unlikely places. It shows us that when we create spaces for open, honest communication, we don't just prevent violence, we create stronger, more resilient communities. Young Star's journey from survivor to advocate has shown that this transformation is possible on a larger scale. They've worked tirelessly to create programs that support survivors, educate communities, and challenge the societal norms that allow domestic violence to persist. But they're quick to point out that this isn't a solo effort. It requires all of us to play a part. So What can we do? How can we take the lessons from Young Star's experience and apply them in our own lives and communities? First, we need to start talking, break the silence around domestic violence, share stories, listen without judgment, and create spaces where people feel safe to open up about their experiences. And when I say talk, I don't mean whisper. I mean shout it from the rooftops if you have to. Because every time we speak up, we chip away at the shame and stigma that keep victims silent. Second, educate yourself and others. Learn to recognize the signs of abuse, understand the resources available in your community, and be prepared to offer support when needed. And let's be clear, this education needs to start early. We need to be talking to our kids about healthy relationships and consent from the moment they can understand the concept. Third, challenge the norms that perpetuate violence. Call out sexist jokes, challenge stereotypes about masculinity and femininity, and promote models of healthy relationships in your own life. And yes, this might make you unpopular at times. You might be called a buzzkill or told to lighten up. But remember, your momentary discomfort is nothing compared to the pain of those living with abuse. Fourth, support organizations working to end domestic violence. This can be through donations, volunteering, or simply spreading awareness about their work. And if you're thinking, I don't have money to donate, remember that time is often just as valuable. Offer to babysit for a single parent who's trying to get back on their feet. Help distribute flyers for a local shelter. Every little bit helps. And finally, be the change you want to see. Model healthy communication in your own relationships. Practice empathy and active listening. Show that strength comes from building others up, not tearing them down. Because here's the thing, change doesn't always come from grand gestures. Sometimes it comes from the small, everyday choices we make. Young Star's story reminds us that change is possible, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. They took a childhood marked by fear and turned it into a life dedicated to creating safety for others. They transformed their pain into purpose, their silence into a powerful voice for change. As we wrap up this conversation, I want to leave you with a challenge. Think about the silences in your own life. What truths are you afraid to speak? What changes have you been hesitant to make? Remember, every great movement, every significant change starts with one person deciding to break their silence. Your voice matters. Your story matters. And by sharing it, by standing up for what's right, you have the power to create ripples of change that can transform not just your life, but the lives of countless others. So, I ask you, what silence will you break today? What step will you take towards creating a world free from violence and full of understanding? The journey might seem daunting, but remember Young Star's words. Every time we speak up, every time we choose love over fear, we're creating a better world. And that's a legacy worth fighting for. Now, I can hear some of you thinking, that's all well and good, but what can one person really do? Let me tell you, one person can do a lot. One person can start a conversation that changes minds. One person can offer support that saves a life. One person can be the pebble that starts an avalanche of change. So here's my challenge to you. For the next week, commit to one action each day that contributes to breaking the cycle of violence. It could be as simple as sharing a resource on social media, or as brave as having a difficult conversation with a friend or family member. It could be educating yourself about the signs of abuse or volunteering at a local shelter. Whatever you choose, do it with intention. Do it with the knowledge that your action, no matter how small it might seem, is part of a movement that says no to violence, yes to respect, and demands a world where everyone feels safe in their own home. And when the week is up, don't stop. Keep going, because change doesn't happen overnight. It happens day by day, choice by choice, voice by voice. It happens when we refuse to be silent, when we choose to be uncomfortable for the sake of progress, when we decide that the world we want is worth fighting for. Remember, domestic violence isn't just a women's issue or a family issue. It's a human rights issue. It's a public health issue. It's an economic issue. And most importantly, it's an issue that affects all of us, whether we realize it or not. So let's make a pact right here, right now. Let's commit to being the generation that says enough is enough. Let's be the ones who turn the tide, who break the cycle, who create a world where love doesn't hurt and home is always safe. Because here's the truth. We have the power to end domestic violence. Not someday, not in some distant future, but right now, today. With every conversation we start, every myth we debunk, every survivor we support, we move closer to that goal. Young Star's journey shows us what's possible when we refuse to be silenced, when we turn our pain into purpose. Their story is a beacon of hope, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, and a call to action for all of us. So as we end this talk, I want you to ask yourself, what will your story be? How will you use your voice, your influence, your power to create change? Because make no mistake, you have power. We all do. And it's time we used it. Let's leave here today not just inspired, but ignited, ready to take action, to speak up, to stand up, ready to be the change we want to see in the world, ready to create a future where domestic violence is a relic of the past, where every home is a haven and where love is always safe. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here, it's just beginning. So let's keep talking, keep learning, and keep working towards a future where every person knows their worth, where every relationship is built on respect, and where violence has no place in our homes or our hearts. Together, we can break the cycle of violence and build a legacy of love and respect that will echo through generations to come. The time for silence is over. The time for action is now. Are you ready? Because the world is waiting for your voice. Let's make it count. Thank you.